We're staying with the violence in Gaza, and funerals are being held for 58 Palestinians killed when Israeli troops opened fire during protests. Well, Kobi Michael is a former head of the Palestinian desk at Israel's Ministry of Strategic Affairs. He's a senior advisor at the Israeli National Security Council. I interviewed him earlier, and I started by asking him whether he accepted the Israeli analysis that the protesters were being encouraged by Hamas.
Facing the humanitarian condition in Gaza, they understood that this will be the best way, first of all, to channel the frustration of their people towards Israel. Secondly, it is a good means in the internal struggle with the Palestinian Authority to show Abu Mazen and the Palestinian Authority who actually leads the Palestinian struggle. Thirdly, it is a good way to continue the violent struggle against Israel because these are not peaceful demonstrations, okay? Peaceful demonstration is a sort of a camouflage to the violence that they use in order to breach the fence, in order to shoot IDF soldiers and Israeli citizens. And fourthly, this is a very good way to embarrass Israel, to push Israel to the corner, to delegitimize the state of Israel, and to force the IDF to act in a way that will be criticized by the international
That's what I wanted to ask you about. That's what I was going to get onto. On that analysis, then, are not the Israelis, the IDF, falling in to the Hamas trap by responding with what looks internationally like such disproportionate force? It's a violation of human rights.
This is not a violation of human rights. If there is a violation of human rights, there should be investigated, and I'm sure that the IDF will investigate all the events. But if there is a violation of human rights, then the violations are done by Hamas, that uses women and young children as human shields for their terrorists in order to breach the fence.
But do the IDF have to shoot the women and children?
No,
they can see they've got these high-grade sniper rifles. They know who they're shooting.
I think that the IDF does all the efforts in order to avoid from shooting innocent or peaceful demonstrators, if there are peaceful demonstrators. But we have to understand that most of the people that were killed, were killed on the fence, and they were Hamas activists. Just hours ago, the General Security Services and the IDF released a report saying that till now, 24 of the 58 that were killed yesterday are Hamas terrorists, Hamas activists. They are coming. We have to understand that.
Well, that's less than half, though.
Okay, but this is not the end of the examination, of the investigation. We have to understand that those people are coming with explosives, with guns, with grenades in order to blow up the fence and to enter the sovereign territories of Israel.
So, Dr. Michael, how is this deconflicted? I mean, it's the question, the eternal question about Gaza, well, in particular since Hamas took over more than 10 years ago. It's stalemate, as you describe. The Israelis respond with this force to the push against the fence. The Gazans are crammed into this tiny strip, 2 million of them, with an economy which is basic to say the least. What happens?
First of all, it is already deconflicted by the facilitation of the Egyptians, the Qatarians, and some others. And we see that today there are very few people, very few demonstrators along the fence, only some hundreds of people. Yesterday we had 40,000 people. I think that it is time to understand that we are dealing with two independent Palestinian entities which are hostile towards each other. We have the Gaza Strip, which is ruled by Hamas, and we have the West Bank, which is ruled by the Palestinian Authority. And therefore, we have to shape two different strategies. And we have to make all the possible efforts in order to reach to some understandings with Hamas, even through indirect negotiations. And it happened before,
Yeah.
And I think that we have to leverage the signals that were signaled towards Israel by some of the leaders of Hamas, that they are prepared for a long ceasefire based on the principle of Hudna. And I think that there is ripeness to reach to such an agreement, to such understandings, but it has a price.
Lastly then, who can act as honest broker? Now it seems the Americans will never be trusted by the Palestinians. The symbolism of moving their embassy to Jerusalem, and it coincided with those shootings, of course. Can the Americans play a big role in any peace process in the future?
Only the Americans can play the role, because only the Americans actually can bring the government of Israel to make the historical concessions, let's say, like that. And I'm not sure that that the Americans will remain irrelevant for the Palestinians. We have to remember that Abu Mazen, the current Palestinian leaders, became to be irrelevant, not only in the eyes of Israel, not only in the eyes of the Americans, but in the eyes of his Arab brothers. Okay, they perceive him as irrelevant, and his people perceives him as irrelevant, and therefore the next generation, the next leadership of the Palestinians might change their attitude, and they will understand that eventually they have to acknowledge the facts on the ground, and the best thing for them is to come back to the negotiation table. And that could be done only by the Americans.
Dr. Michael, it's been fascinating getting your thoughts. Thank you very much indeed.
My pleasure.